Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the World Championship Series Europe. This is the Premier League. This is where the big boys play in Europe. It is the round of 16. And after a fantastic day yesterday of action, I don't dare we could ask for better today. But we're going to try anyway, because it's Group B for best. Well, let's have a look at Group A from yesterday first, though, and confirm that Targa and Stardust went through a crazy day of StarCraft 2. We saw everything you could imagine. Upsets, predictions went out the window, the underdog won the group, then we had a 4-mapper in a best-of-3. I don't think we could possibly expect to have the same kind of action today. If we get another draw, it'd be absolutely insane, that's for sure. But crowd are definitely here for what is the Group of Death. Let's have a look at that group as well. As the whole of round of 16 as well. All 4 groups. Yesterday, Group A, of course. Today, the Group of Death, as we said. We have VortiX, MC, Thorzane and BabyKnight in that one. Group C tomorrow, 2 very big Koreans in that one alongside Nurchio and the hometown favourite of Showtime. There we go. There it is. And then we'll end on Friday with Group D, the European champion, the reigning European champion, Duck Duck, in action to defend his title. He would be the only man to have defended a title successfully in WCS so far. We've not had one yet. And we've also not had a single man go through to the round of 8 that appeared in the previous season. I wonder if we can break that duck this evening. Let's go and meet a couple of other gentlemen this evening. They're going to help us tell the stories that are here to be told. Kalaris, first of all. Let's just talk about Group A yesterday. Group A for awesome in every way. It was brilliant.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, the very end of the show kind of stole it all, I would say, with Stardust advancing on after a tense 1 or 2 series with a few more games than we were expecting, to say the least. But we shouldn't really take focus away from the true hero of the group, which was Targa. Yep. Targa advancing on as that underdog, doing so well for himself, where a lot of people doubted him.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, so today is all about Group B. Let's show you the 4 players that are taking part in Group B. We've dubbed this as the Group of Death for many reasons, really, but more because if you look at the 4, VortiX, MC, Thorzane and BabyKnight, all 4 are capable of beating each other. The other thing to point out is, of course, MC 15th right now in the WCS points. If you're not familiar with WCS points, it's all about the top 16 to going to BlizzCon at the end of the year. So he still needs a few more points, you'd feel, and the rest of them, well, they're all just outside that. They need strong runs all the way through this round. I suppose my first point is, as I said before, all of them can beat each other. We're going to kick off with VortiX versus BabyKnight, which has got its own thing. We'll talk about it in a minute, but also MC in there and Thorzane back again from round of 16. So it's a really interesting group, no matter which way you look at it.
Yeah, it is. You were saying previously you think that, maybe today won't match, what we saw yesterday in terms of the craziness, but I think it will when it comes to kind of intensity and quality. I think there's a lot here to be proved for a lot of these players. Of course, MC is one of those big favorites of the group, but I think overall it's a player like VortiX that's going to be the one to beat. He is looking really good in ZVP and he as well as ZVT. Very, very good for VortiX, this group, I would say. Yeah,
as you can see the brackets on your screen. VortiX, BabyKnight will be our first game. We'll follow that up with MC versus Thorzane. That's it's got the old TSL3 fans all sort of giddy with excitement, that one has, isn't it? I don't know if we can possibly live up to that, but it's great to see those two go head-to-head again. We'll start with our Group B game in just a moment. Just a reminder for you at home as well. We do like to see your tweets. They do feature on the programme as well. And if you've got better predictions than any of us, because we're going to throw down some predictions in a moment, then let us know via the usual social media avenues. Facebook.com/StarCraft and also at StarCraft on Twitter. Make sure you hash WCS and tell us who you think will win Group B. Someone's got to get it right. Last night, I think the only man that got it right in the studio was Grubby, who kind of admitted that he picked Targa before but didn't want to say anything. I think that, I don't know if he did or not.
I don't think he did.
Really?
He's just making it up.
We'll see. Okay, time to get into our first game. Let's take a look at the 2 men that are competing for our first matchup in Group B. Spain's VortiX, one half of the Duran brothers, of course, going up against BabyKnight. We dubbed him the legend killer in Season 1 for good reason as well. He took down an absolute whole host of fan favourites and champions from the past. And now he's got to do the same thing again in Group B to get out of this group. He's got to beat 3 very big favourites for different reasons. It's also interesting to me that in Season 1, he was the only Protoss in the round of 8. But in Season 2, when Protoss did really well, and there were 6 of them, he didn't feature. So he's really got to step it up tonight. What are your thoughts on VortiX in corresponding that?
VortiX going into a PvZ, for me, is, especially in this season, more so than not, is the all-round package. He is, I want to call him an opportunist in how he plays against the Protoss, not only in looking for weakness, and for example, if he scouts something out, to then exploit that, but also then to find exploitative comfort himself. If he sits back and just rests on his own laurels with a very, very good economy, he's much more happy to do either of these things. You see a lot of muta plays out of him. If he sees robo early, you see, you know, straight up to ultralisks as well, which is something that he is very, very good at doing. And for BabyKnight, this is all things he's going to have to be looking out for with very, very good scouting.
Okay, we are about to get into this game. It's going to be BabyKnight versus VortiX. These two have history in the WCS, of course. In WCS Season 1, in this very stage, in the round of 16, they had an epic match to decide who went on to the round of 8. That time it was BabyKnight. Who's it going to be this time round? It's VortiX versus BabyKnight. It's time to go over to your commentary team for our opening game of Group B. It's Apollo and Grubby.
Thank you very much, Red-Eye, and welcome over here to the commentary desk. Happy evening to you this fine Wednesday night. How are you doing, Grubby?
I'm doing so great. How are you?
Absolutely fantastic. I'm very excited for this group. This is a tough group, and it's going to be an interesting one. 4 players can go any way. Any 2 players can advance from this one. Hard to call, but as Red-Eye did describe, we have our first game underway. What are your initial opinions on this first game that we have coming our way?
It's hard to say. VortiX is one of those players you always think will do a little bit better than he's actually doing, isn't it? And then you've got BabyKnight, who made it as the only Protoss to Season 1 WCS and didn't quite deliver there. He's definitely looking to prove something here. Really good matchup to open things up with. No one's really sure. The opinions are very divided on it. And now they're going to be doing the things that will set into motion their destiny, removing the maps, deciding where they're going to play.
That's right. BabyKnight, very successful Season 1, getting top 8, as you said, the only Protoss player. Well, on the other side of things, VortiX was round of 16, then round of 8 in Season 2. We'll see how well they can do here in Season 3. But Red-Eye does bring up a great point. They played against each other back then, and it was one of the closest series we've seen in WCS. It was a good game. But so far, if we look at the vetoes here, Whirlwind eliminated from BabyKnight, VortiX getting rid of Yongsu.
And by the way, VortiX, wasn't he the only Zerg in the last season?
Yeah.
So they both know what it is to have the weight of the world on their shoulders, of the race on their shoulders.
The weight of the race on their shoulders.
I wonder which race weighs more, Protoss or Zerg?
Absolutely Protoss.
Protoss?
Yeah,
all the
for
metal.
Sure. All that metal.
Yeah.
But then again, you do have an Ultralisk is going to weigh a bit, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
That's
Wouldn't want to have an Ultralisk on my shoulders. Accolon waste removed by VortiX. Pretty standard pick to remove. And Frost. So BabyKnight removing the 2 4-player maps. And the defensive maps have been removed for VortiX. No real surprises there.
All right, well, there is the handshake as these 2 players do get ready for battle. As, well, we see BabyKnight representing Millennium for the first time offline. He's played for them for a while now, but only online. And we'll see how well he can represent his team, looking to impress, of course. But here on the other side is a player that's been on Mouse Sports for a little bit now with his brother, of course, VortiX, who absolutely is looking to get a win in this first game. Likewise, his opponent. But VortiX in the round of 32, blinding performance. 2-0, 2-0. Really solid performance so far this season. And to be honest, when I was watching his games, when he played a no-name and then Showtime, made him look like nothing. And he has been playing some very good StarCraft recently.
And then we've got BabyKnight kind of filling the cavity that was left by Feast not being on Team Millennium anymore. Not so many Protoss there, and he's going to be their new resident Protoss hero most likely. Will he be able to make them proud at this event? He's made it this far already, but got a tough group ahead of him.
Yeah, didn't do too well in Season 2. Finished in the round of 32, unfortunately 3rd in his group. But we'll see how well he can perform here today. It's a fresh season, it's a fresh stage, and now it is time to, well, kind of get ready for this next game. I'm personally rather excited for this one, Grubby. I'm not too sure, as you said, which way it's going to go. It is a good opening game, as we do have VortiX with pretty decent stats across the board.
Wow.
A little bit weak against Zerg, but 89% against Terra, and 64 is not too shabby either.
Yeah, it's a very funny win stats. I can't believe it would be the same for him in Wings of Liberty, because VortiX, he was the only one to take a series off of Stefano last year's WCS in the European finals. Still stands out, where he 2-1 Stefano in the grand finals, but then eventually dropped down anyway. Historically has performed very well in the WCS. A little bit up and down, and now it looks like he's on the up again, which should make his opponents a little bit afraid.
That's right. Well, let's hope so. Let's hope so, because VortiX a strong competitor here this season. But here is BabyKnight, of course. Look at that win percentage across. I mean, that's a lot more equal, to be honest. A great win percentage against Protoss. Roughly the same, like his opponent, when it comes to playing against each other's races here. 60% against Zerg.
So it's always fun when you have a PvZ going up against each other where there's a lot of time to prepare, because traditionally you'll see the Protoss coming with the most extravagant strategies. It's a little hard for the Zerg, because imagine being a Zerg, in case you're not, and you're thinking of, wow, Protoss can do so many things against me. Which one is it going to be? Now you can kind of try to gauge what the tendencies of the opponents are, but what if they bring something new completely? That's what I'm curious to see. Is BabyKnight going to bring something new completely, or is he going to rely on his fundamentals and favorite strategies?
I think that's one of the first things we have to look at when we see these two players fight out, because I'm expecting, as normal, a very reactionary style coming from VortiX, who will be looking for the same things that we should be looking for. What the hell has BabyKnight got planned? They've played against each other before. They know each other's style. This is going to be the first map, Belshir Vestige, between the two of them. A smaller map, only 2 spawning locations on this. It is more of an aggressive map because of the distance between the bases, but that also, as you can see in point number 1, makes it a little bit more predictable. But overall, as a professional Protoss player yourself, if this was your first map against a Zerg opponent, how happy on a scale of 10 are you to be playing on Belshir Vestige?
I'm not that good with maths, but I'd be pretty neutral about it. Probably about a 6, yeah?
A 6. What would be your 10?
My 10? Cloud Kingdom.
A map that doesn't exist yet.
Cloud Kingdom. Doesn't exist anymore. Yeah.
All right, well, here we do have these two players now ready inside the game. BabyKnight from Team Millennium here. Looks calm.
So BabyKnight, he doesn't all-in a lot against Zerg. And ironically, I remember my win against VortiX when I lost against him in the group stage last season. The only map that I won was Belshir, and I cannon rushed him. He was very good at the longer games. But BabyKnight is good at long games too. He likes going macro games against Zerg.
Well, I think that's definitely where he's going to have to head if he wants to pick up a victory here in this first best of 3.
Yeah.
VortiX, very well known for being able to scout exactly what his opponent's doing. And then it's not just scouting, it's the ability to be able to read the game well enough to know exactly what smaller details mean to be able to set up the defense necessary. VortiX is very well known for skipping evolution chambers for a long time in the game to make sure he gets as many units out as possible to be able to defend against any form of aggression that a Protoss player can throw against him early on. But that could be a style that BabyKnight goes for here. Definitely could be. We'll see. Anything is possible between these two players. And I think it really does come down to a lot of preparation.
Yeah.
They've known who they're going to play for a while now. Couple of weeks, 2 weeks, week and a half.
Yeah, that's a pretty long time in a climate where oftentimes you meet 5 opponents in rapid succession on the same day without any time to prepare whatsoever, and where it really just gets down to your fundamentals. Now, let's talk a little bit about VortiX. VortiX played a little bit predictably in Season 2. He had a very extensively plotted out strategy, but each time the new threat level followed up the previous one with a certain kind of predictability. But we know he's also very capable of playing Mutalisks, something he tried against BabyKnight in the last series they played. Will we see some Mutalisk play again from him?
I would have to say I think we will.
Yeah.
In one of these games, I watched him watch the games yesterday, Zerg versus Protoss, and every time he was like, all right, here's a perfect chance to go Mutalisks. Every time he saw the opportunity, every time he called it out. But now we are ready to begin game number 1 of the evening from the World Championship Series here in the European Premier League. It is the round of 16, Group B, and things are about to kick off here. And I am quite excited for this. We have a great evening. Of course, our second game is going to be MC versus Thorzane. But this is our first one. VortiX versus BabyKnight. A rematch from a previous season. And they go head-to-head to kick off Group B here. As to the top left of Belshir Vestige. Spawning as the Red Zerg playing for Team Mouse Sports. He goes by the name of VortiX. representing Mouse Sports, representing Spain, has to work hard for his brother who isn't in the round of 16 this season. But down here in the bottom right, playing for Team Millennium, it's BabyKnight.
And I don't think they necessarily love BabyKnight more. I think they just hadn't fully woken up yet, the crowd, I like to think. I think they like both players a lot. Gateway expansion for BabyKnight, looks like. And VortiX is going for spawning pool first. And that really is something very VortiX-like. A lot of players like to take the liberty to go for hatchery first, especially against someone who does like to go for gateway expansion. But on this map, you can get cannon rushed, and you have to be very confident that you don't lose in a silly way on this map. So he's going to go with the pool first and play it safe.
All right, so the hatchery, of course, will follow this down by VortiX. And I'm expecting, well, I think the way that BabyKnight could play this out to maybe get a feel of the game is a very normal follow-up from the gateway expand, which we'll be seeing very soon, is to add on those extra gateways not too fast after expanding, trying to put a bit of pressure onto your opponent. Could be something that BabyKnight wants to try here. But he is, as you say, very well known for going gateway expand. I remember one season I got myself in a bit of trouble with Stefano. I'm not sure if you remember that.
Go 10 pool, Stefano.
Stefano, go 10 pool with gas, go circling speed really early on and try to get a really fast win.
And he had a great opening against BabyKnight. Build order-wise, it was sound, so Coach Apollo need not be too sad. But Stefano made a few moves, BabyKnight with a stroke of genius, and was able to hold it off. And he was in a completely 99% winning position, but unfortunately moved up with triple the army size that Stefano had and walked into 6 fungal growths and lost everything.
That's right, a memorable moment from previous seasons
I'm
here
sure
at the
it's
World
very
Championship
memorable
Series.
for BabyKnight too.
All right, well, the Nexus is down as well as the Mothership core out nice and early, going to be able to protect that Nexus, going to be able to start banking up that energy. But a gas has been taken down here from VortiX upon realizing that he is going up against this gateway expand. We'll want to get that circling speed out nice and early on to make sure that he can deal with probes, pylons, units moving out across the map. Because as mentioned before, that is a normal follow-up here we do see from Protoss players. And without that circling speed, things could get very difficult if pressure was to be mounted.
So do you think we'll be seeing, I wanted to say double gate and forge, or double gate and Stargate follow-up? It's a forge right away. Now, does the Overlord have vision of it? Yes, he's seen it. So does that tell VortiX something like, whatever aggression you're going to do, I don't have to take it too seriously.
Yep.
10, 12 Zerglings, if any, like at the most, and nothing more, and the rest can go into drones.
Yeah, I think he says to himself, all right, well, that forge in itself has given me an extra minute or so on anything that can come. So I wouldn't be surprised, as you say, minimum amounts of Zerglings, much more focus on his economy, just through seeing a single structure here. But that, of course, doesn't mean that aggression isn't out completely. Yeah. Because once that +1 attack finishes, we'll see what VortiX scouts and BabyKnight decides to do here.
Now we see VortiX making 6 Zerglings, and strictly speaking, you could say it's not necessary, but VortiX is a player who likes to have some Zerglings on the map, just to at least have both towers for sure, don't let any probes get on the map, and just kind of camp in front of the base. If you want to take like a very bare bones 3rd Nexus as Protoss, he'll try to mess with that.
Well, all right, in the Forge at this point, we do have Chrono Boost going into rushing out that +1 attack. A pylon has been thrown down here. A Roach Warren immediately placed upon seeing the pylon. He's expecting maybe this follow-up to come soon. But is that what we're seeing? Because the Twilight Council has been thrown down as that +1 is 50% on its way. Which means what, Grubby? What could we see here from this?
Yeah, he'll try to streamline those attack upgrades, as you alluded to, and probably start Blink research as well. Now, the thing is, that probe on the map who made a pylon, that was purely saying, I hope you're going to make 4 to 20 extra Zerglings for this pylon. But VortiX, he doesn't look at that and isolate every other thought from his mind and says, oh no, a pylon, maybe you're going to warp in. No, he saw the time of the second gateway started at 5:30. So any warp in could at best happen at 7 minutes. He's making a pylon at 6 minutes. It's not going to be a threat. So he made only drones. I was taking a look at it. It was only drones for a long time. And now he's at 47 drones against 39 probes and starts his first 4 roaches. And after that, I think he'll just drone again.
Well, right now, VortiX has gone into the main base with an Overlord. He's seen the Twilight Council. And now any good StarCraft player is going to say, all right, well, the Forge was put down really early on. There's been a Chrono Boost in it, and now the Twilight Council's come down. He's going to put the pieces together. Blink is going to be researched. He can see something being researched here. He knows that +2 attack will be followed up here. So he is expecting some form of Blink +2 play. Is that going to be for an expansion play? I would think so. It could be aggression, but VortiX is all over it at this point. Likewise is BabyKnight, who does get a Hallucinated Phoenix in there. Picks up quite a bit of information there.
Now, don't you find it interesting that he's making 3 Spore Crawlers? Maybe he thought the upgrade on the Twilight Council was faked, and that there's in fact a Dark Shrine hidden somewhere, and his Overlord didn't have enough mileage to go around the whole base and see if there was a Dark Shrine. So that's 3 wasted drones and the money for Spore Crawlers as well.
All right, well, currently we do have BabyKnight with a probe, with the army. He's got a lot of energy on that mothership core. Should be available with 2 time warps at this point, I'd imagine.
Now, I think VortiX is reading this wrong. He's getting an infestation pit, but the blink, it's basically looking like a blink all-in from 2 base. Although he is making probes again, that's a bit strange.
Well, he's currently sitting at 48 probes. 2 more would make that up to 50, but he is moving across. He's got a probe with this army. Units are being made here. We do have pathogen glands being researched. VortiX is gonna obviously know that something's coming at this point. He's seen the units on his front door, and BabyKnight is gonna swing around the right-hand side. Unfortunately for him, he is pylon blocked as well, stuck at 84 supply. Can't add on any units to this composition.
Yeah, and he does have the idle gateways. He does have some idle gateways, so right now he is missing production. His 6th and 7th gateway are just finishing, and he's making another one because he sees, oh my god, I have a lot of minerals stockpiled here. And he's only relying on these advanced pylons to get supply, and that's a bit of a problem. Now he's starting 2 pylons at home. That pylon got destroyed, so now he's supply blocked again. And this supposed 2-base blink all-in is far from full efficiency.
Yeah, look at the army supply difference, 42, and there's 69 drones behind this, which is obviously going to power VortiX up very much so every second that ticks by at this point. If he'd hit more stronger, maybe this would have been a lot more deadly. But at this point, Infestors are even out. Pathogen Glands have finished a great blink forward hit by 3 Stalkers, picks up one of them, Time Warps do come down, and the fight is going to start here. A great fungal onto a couple of those sentries, but VortiX with 15 additional roaches in the production on their way. I'm finding it very hard here for BabyKnight to utilize Blink when fungals are there. Finding it very hard for him to take these fights properly.
Yeah, there's 2 fungal growths, 1 lands fully. Very nice time warp. So there's only a few roaches attacking at the same time, but there goes the 2nd fungal growth, and he's lost all of his sentries.
All of his sentries, he just doesn't have any control of the roaches and the links that are going to just be spraying over here. And VortiX marches forward, more and more units are being made, but also more and more stalkers are being lost here. And at this point, with the speed roaches just powering forward, this attack is not going too well at this moment for BabyKnight.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to lose everything here despite Blink. He's going to get chased down. VortiX is now making Zerglings because he thinks that they can catch anything that tries to run home. And actually, if we look at the units lost tab, BabyKnight lost more. And you gotta count that even more heavily because his economy is less.
Well, this is like a dog going home with its tail in between its legs at the moment as BabyKnight does return back. And at the moment, has got +3 attack on the way, does have the robotics facility as a follow-up here to help out and try to change his tech path and unit composition. But from this position, VortiX says, you know what? This is going pretty well.
Yeah.
Let me just drone up. Let me just get some upgrades for my units. I've got some time here. It failed, and VortiX just naturally sits at a very, very strong position.
Yeah, and you can choose to hold off the Blink Stalker 2-base attack in 2 different ways. You can just make units, or you can make units and go for Infestors. And that's a bit of a ballsy move, because you may not have enough time. If BabyKnight didn't get supply blocked and he would attack faster, the first attack with Force Fields and Time Warps would hit before the first Infestors. Then during the fight, 2 Infestors would pop out, and they would very likely die instantly because they spawn at the bottom. But BabyKnight lost that time, and that shows you, does 5 seconds really matter? 5 seconds difference in timing? Yeah, it does. And he made some mistakes there, and VortiX, with that risk of going Infestors, now suddenly has the natural counter prepared to Blink Stalkers already. So even if this goes on 2 minutes, he will still have to counter. He's continued to produce Infestors, 8 Infestors out soon, and BabyKnight only now going for Colossi. And what will VortiX get during that time that BabyKnight is trying to get Colossi?
All right, well, I've got a question to put over. So currently VortiX, you know, he's leading when it comes to his economy, he's leading when it comes to his army vibe, but there is this +3 attack and shields now on the way, and we do have 1-1, respectively, on the way for VortiX, but is that going to help BabyKnight in this regard, and how does it?
Yeah, it does help, actually. It does help quite a bit. +3 is extremely impressive against 1-1 melee upgrades, when the brunt of the army is infested Terrans, which doesn't get upgrades, and roaches. roaches with 0-1 do not scale well when the fights get bigger and bigger. So if we're looking right now and we're saying BabyKnight probably cannot win fights, especially because he just wasted another 4 force fields in the middle, where he probably shouldn't have been. But if they fight now, it'll be hard for BabyKnight. If they fight in 2 minutes, I can see BabyKnight doing very well defensively. But VortiX not going to wait for it, is he?
No, look at this flanky setup here. Units on the left, army on the right, or armies on both sides, to be honest. And he's going to come crashing through. And as you said, there's not that many force fields. It's going to be difficult to stop this. As VortiX gets ready, he rallies up his units. He will come from both sides. 3 force fields on the left-hand side. The Colossus comes in, but that Colossus is exposed at the moment. The Infested Terran's lobbed over the force field. Fungals come down. And well, look at the supply dropping here for BabyKnight. The Colossus is going to get picked off very fast here if it's not careful. Stalker's blinking around, but this is a lot of damage from VortiX, who's looking to clean up this game with excellent defense early on. Once again, as predicted, he's very good at stopping attacks. We can't help to say that BabyKnight didn't help him out a little bit in this regard, but BabyKnight is in trouble.
Yeah, credit has to be given to VortiX. He scouted everything when he needed to, didn't he? He saw the Twilight Council. He got ready in the case of DTs, but he also just got completely ready. Didn't over-drone, didn't even get upgrades, just said, what I need here is sheer amount of units, and it's the right way to play it. He didn't get Evo Chambers till he was sure he was safe.
And look at this, Zerglings in the natural, Zerglings in the main. With 1-1 upgrades, they're going to do a lot of damage to these probes, unfortunately. And even though BabyKnight has kind of, equaled up the difference in supply, with 2-2 upgrades on the way, the Ultralisk Cavern down, the robotics facility gone. There are simply not many units out, if any, that are going to be able to deal with the amount of units that we're going to see come through the production tab in a moment with the amount of money we have banked up. And 3 Ultralisks here with some fantastic upgrades coming through, and BabyKnight's in a lot of trouble in game number 1 here.
Yeah, getting those Zerglings in, it's really cool because you get to kill probes, but very smart focus firing. He killed that Robo knowing that he's getting an Ultralisk Cavern. Whereas as BabyKnight, he's probably like, man, I lost a Robo, which generally is a key structure. That's kind of a pity, but I don't think he's like necessarily putting 2 and 2 together and says, this Robo got focused partly because there's Ultralisk coming. If he thought that, he would have made 2 new ones, I think.
Well,
6 Ultralisks.
The only thing that BabyKnight has seen is the Hive getting morphed, and that's it. He doesn't know anything else.
And normally that's Vipers.
Yeah, it is a lot of the time for VortiX, but there's nothing really that BabyKnight at the moment has to do with Ultralisks, and with a lot of them on their way, it's becoming increasingly difficult here for BabyKnight to keep in this game. 118 supply for VortiX to 70, just 72 here, army supply for BabyKnight. 2-2 upgrades are seconds away from completion here. Ooh.
Kills 1 Infestor.
Ooh. Those Zealots don't want to be out there in the open, and they will absolutely get destroyed, hammered down. And here comes the army. 2-2 upgrades not even completed yet, but Ultralisk chewing away onto these armies. All the units that Protoss have are +3, but the sheer amount of units, the quality that they are going to be too good. And VortiX will pick up map number 1 here against BabyKnight. And that revenge becoming sweeter game by game here.
Suddenly, Hepro's quote on the floor, I don't know if anyone saw it, but you can see it again later, becomes more and more appropriate. Something about Ultralisk, something Ultralisk.
Something about Ultralisk, and VortiX, easy game here, as he picks up map number 1. What did you think about the way that BabyKnight approached playing VortiX here on Belshir Vestige? A fast forward for +1, a fast +2 into this Blink Stalker attack with proper execution. Would it have been a completely different story for BabyKnight? You talked a lot about the pylon blocks and how things were slowed down for him.
In a case like that, I always feel like if you had stopped the game at 7 or 8 minutes, or 8.5, and then you give the game to a Korean Protoss, like Parting or something, then I always think like, yeah, that would have probably worked. Because in the end, sometimes you make it as good as you can yourself with your own force fields, and if your force fields or timing is off, like it's just not going to work anymore because there's fungal, too many units. Had he gone there straight away for the jugular, or the pylon was already there as he came, rather than having to wait for it. Because you got to think, he waited at the first pylon for 30 seconds, then he waited at the second pylon for it to finish, which is another 30 seconds, and he was supply blocked twice.
Yeah. It's a little bit unfortunate, really, isn't it?
It's a little hard to talk about anything else than the effective execution of the Protoss all-in, when essentially it's a 2-base all-in. Like an all-in, you can pretty much practice all-ins against Zerg, against the computer. You never even need to play against a real player because it's all about how you're going to execute it. Unless they're going to like baneling bust you or something. But generally, they're just going to make drones, they're going to defend, and you're going to attack. And how good is your strategy? In this case, I feel like 50, 52 probes, it's like he did an all-in with a macro mind.
And remember behind it, you said it and called it, the VortiX did give him an opportunity. He droned up a lot.
Yeah.
He got the infestation pit down. There was definitely a chance to get in there. But whatever the case, we are now ready for map number 2. It is Derelict Watcher, as you just saw with the preview. A map heavily vetoed out by Protoss players in Season 1 and Season 2. But it is here to play for BabyKnight against VortiX. How is this going to shape up? Is it going to be a 2-0 for the Spaniard, who is on form recently? Or can BabyKnight make a miracle? Spawning up here to the top right as the red Zerg player playing for Team Mouseboards, it's VortiX! Looking great so far.
He looks like someone who could go 2-0-2-0 in the group.
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
like his brother did in Season 1, and he did in his first group.
And down here, BabyKnight, top 8 from the round of, from Season 1. As the blue Protoss playing for Team Millennium, BabyKnight. So, player mindset-wise, Grubby, because you are a fine Protoss and a very handsome young man yourself. When it comes to game number 1 as a Protoss player, you go in, you have this build, you have this execution lined up, and you kind of mess it up a little bit. Does that affect you coming to game number 2 because you know it was your mistakes that really, caused the result of game number 1?
I feel like a game like that would not affect me in the slightest because you had a plan. It's definitely not going to be your plan for game 1 and 2. You just had a plan, it didn't work, maybe you didn't practice it enough like you thought you should have. And then it's like, okay, I'll fall back to my more regular strategies or my more regular, type of build that I do, game style, whatever. I don't think it will affect him all too much, and I think we're going to see a different BabyKnight in this game.
All right, well, we do have a different VortiX opening in this game, who's got 1 hatchery, and he's got a drone moving out to take a 3rd. And he really is now saying, BabyKnight, your build, what's pretty good against it.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Because BabyKnight often opens up double gas, Mothership Core, Nexus Sentry. And a Sentry, Mothership Core, and gases, there's one thing they all have in common.
What's that, Grubby?
They don't have big guns.
They don't have big guns.
No. Zealot does, Stalker after a fashion, but Sentry, Mothership Core, and gases, they're not very good at attacking.
So at this point, VortiX just looking for an upper hand with his build opening here. And if anybody followed the DreamHack Stockholm tournament, I think it was, when Jadon was just saying, you know what, Naniwa, I'm just going to do this game after game after game. And it resorted in Naniwa saying, well, you know what, I'm just going to 2-gate proxy you, man, if you keep doing this.
Yeah.
But that is not the case here. The Nexus is planted down. Mothership Core has been added on. Warp Gate research as well. And there's no scouting here from BabyKnight. He's got no idea what's happening in this game.
Yeah, he almost never does. He is getting 3 gas from both. And I kind of missed whether he did that or not in game 1, so whether that actually means there's a difference. But I really gotta say, it's very clever by VortiX, really, to do this. Because first of all, he has never displayed this kind of build before. Triple hatch into extractor into pool. We look for this in Jadong, in Targa, Hanfi from Germany, he plays it. But does VortiX do it? Normally, no. He is the guy that gets a decently delayed 3rd. He opens with speed. Now he's doing it, but he didn't show it in game 1. Had he shown it in game 1, BabyKnight would see it and say, okay, you're capable of this, maybe I adjust my build or whatever. Now he's down 0-1, BabyKnight, and then suddenly sees, oh god, I can feel his heart sinking a little bit.
What exactly is going through his mind when he sees that, apart from his heart sinking?
You took an advantage. I can't punish it in any whichever way. I'll try to forget about it, because now I'm discouraged.
All right, well, Stargate and Forge has been thrown down here on the front wall for BabyKnight. And
Overlord saw everything.
Of course it would. It's a VortiX Overlord. It usually sees everything. Yeah. So I guess one way that BabyKnight could get some damage done here is clearly not with a Sentry and Mothership Core, but if he was to go over to Phoenixes early on, we've seen beautiful Phoenix control by a lot of top-tier Protoss players.
What do you think about an Oracle? Oh no, you're right. Phoenixes.
I think an Oracle could be dangerous though, right? It's a big investment, and if that's just shut down completely...
Yeah, Phoenixes have game-long utility. This is the best way of saying it. They can kill Overlords, drones, they can scout the best from any of the air units, and they can pick up roaches, they have combat utility, and they can preordain against Mutalists. Like forestall Mutalists.
Yeah, and well, as VortiX does pick up the Phoenix Scout here.
Ooh.
Sentry out in the middle, and actually does survive.
Wow.
It does take a lot of hit point damage to these Zerglings.
BabyKnight always very good with his early game micro. I don't think I've ever seen him miss a significant force field in the early game.
Well, let's hope he doesn't now, because there's a couple of hungry buggers outside this main base, and they're looking to get in. The Mothership Core is going to help out. But let's see how much damage these Phoenixes do, because they really do need to do something. Just the way this game's shaped up, they kind of need to get a couple of drones. They need to get a queen, maybe. Oh! Oh, God, at least you didn't miss the force field, did you? As you did say.
I'm starting to understand about caster curse now.
Oh.
Didn't think it affects player casters.
Well, apparently it does, doesn't it? It's a common thing here. But these Phoenixes haven't done anything yet. Zerglings have scouted all around everywhere, and VortiX has just got a free ticket to Drone City, and he is just droning away. He's got Spore Crawlers covering all his bases. He's not looking to do or take damage from the Phoenixes. Did manage to pick off a probe there on that with those two Zerglings. So just every little small thing going in VortiX's favor. This third base, though, currently exposed. Spore Crawl about to finish.
Okay, he could probably kill one queen and take some HP damage. No, he's too late now, so... 2 Spore Crawlers finished, he's got it locked down tight, and you can afford these Spore Crawlers without any regret whatsoever because you have so many larvae with these fast triple hatch.
And the drone count's incredibly high at this point. Already at 63, 67, will be very shortly. Managed to pick off a drone there. But the layer's almost complete, and I'm pretty sure we're going to see the Hydralisk end down. He may even forget upgrades completely for now and just say, you know what, I've got such a good economy because nothing's happened. Let me just throw all that gas into a lot of Hydralisk, and then let's see what you can do on your third base about it. Because right now, as we know, BabyKnight doesn't have a lot. He doesn't have any future tech currently. It's only the Twilight Council on its way. Not really Colossus, which is ideal. He's going to have to rely a lot on force fields here.
Yeah, and with just the way that the game has gone economically, the numbers are on VortiX's side. What does BabyKnight have to deal with a gigantic Hydralisk and Roach attack if he doesn't have something special like mass Void Rays, a lot of sentries, or Colossi? And I don't think he's going to have any of that. He made a Twilight Council, which is kind of a long game approach. It gives you upgrades, it gives you Blink. Blink has a great offensive utility, but defensively not so much. I'm very worried for BabyKnight. He took a very quick third. He's going to have one photon overcharge, I think, but how is he going to defend an attack?
I guess one thing that kind of is working in BabyKnight's favor, if we look at smaller things, is the creep spread hasn't really pushed itself out very far. The Hydras are going to take a little bit longer to get across the map, as they're not getting the speed researched. And these Phoenixes, picking off Hydra, this is actually kind of nice. This is small little things that he can do to get back into this game. Slowing down the units, the Hydra count, he's got to be careful, because not only are these Phoenixes used to pick off these units, but they're going to have to be used in the fight, considering that he doesn't have, as you say, that many units.
Yeah, but that was very well done. As you said, that's a very important move. He killed 4 Hydralisks there, and he lost only 1 Phoenix. Flying into 15 Hydras, you'll be lucky to kill 1, even if it's in the big fight, because the Phoenix are so close, the Hydralisks automatically acquire a target on the Phoenixes. But killing 4 like that, when they're isolated, is very easy. And yeah, it really makes the attack a bit easier to hold.
Well, so far, no Evolution Chambers, still a lot of gas in the bank here. VortiX has got the Spire on the way behind this. I wouldn't be surprised if we could focus a lot more on Zerglings for now and start to bank up his gas. A Mutalisk switch could be very dominant in this game. But the main focus currently, can BabyKnight very simply not take damage here? He really needs some good force fields, a good starting set of forces there. Doesn't really catch any units though, would have probably liked to catch a few.
Yeah, because VortiX doesn't have to go right away. VortiX a little bit supply, oh no, there the Overlords finished. Not as much supply as you would think. VortiX starting to ramp up this aggression really early already. Usually he waits until 160 or 170, but he's getting up in BabyKnight's phase really early. Just positioning himself here in between. Putting a very small army just to try and break the natural. And what he really hopes here, Sean, is of course that BabyKnight comes down the ramp into the smiley face of Zerg units.
Well, he's picked up a couple of free units here. Oh, the natural's broken. Uh-oh, there's a couple of units broken through here. Photon Overcharge is still activated on the natural, but he runs right past, and that's going to split. BabyKnight's forces up some good force fields on that right-hand side, keeping those Hydralisks away, and Phoenix control's been pretty spectacular so far. Gonna need a couple of Zealots swapped into that main base to be able to deal and stop the Zerglings getting into the probe line.
And there isn't that many defenses here. The Zealots are coming, they're going to clean up everything, and there goes the Photon Overcharge. Isn't that exactly what VortiX wants? We've got 14 Mutalisks coming, and there's no more energy for Photon Overcharge.
+2 attack is finished, so is Blink.
Wait a minute, yeah. And there's still Phoenixes. Did VortiX switch Mutalisks too soon?
It's a big question here. We're about to find out. He's still got a lot of Hydralisks and Zerglings on the ground as well, and there is nothing really. There's no Mothership Core to help recall. Phoenixes have gone over to this base, fanned a little bit, and BabyKnight has equaled up the supply, 142 to 157. But if these Mutalisks don't do damage, that's 1,200 gas, 1,400 gas invested, but he's caught a lot of these units out. And as mentioned, there's no Mothership Core. It's on its way back, but that doesn't even have enough energy. The Zerglings are going to wrap around. These Stalkers are going to have to blink, but obviously the Mutalisks are going to chase here, and BabyKnight caught out in the open a little bit here. And he's going to turn around and fight with the Zealots getting in there, maybe. Well, there seems to be a lot of units. Phoenixes come back to help as well. The Mothership Core does get picked off.
And VortiX was almost going to let the Zealots go. If any of these Zealots can escape, that's really going to help BabyKnight. Anytime he can get any extra units he can get is going to help him. But it does look like VortiX will kill all of them. But the surprise is gone. The Mutalisks have been seen. They can get counted pretty easily. And very smartly, VortiX realizes this and starts to add Corruptors.
All right, well, a lot of pressure from the get-go in this game that BabyKnight is going through. Zerglings break into his third base. The probe line is absolutely destroyed here. The Phoenixes and Stalkers trying to deal, with what's left, but he's already down to 42 probes. He's lost a lot of his income. Mutalisks are going to swing into the main base here as the Stalkers on the third. This is a beautiful move here from VortiX, and BabyKnight is going to start to maybe bend under the pressure here.
Yeah, too late BabyKnight realized that he could handle the attack at the third with just his Stalkers, and the Phoenixes were there. So smart positional play by VortiX. Everything he does looks very calm. It's like a chess game for him. I'll move this piece over here, and I'll move this piece over here. And the end result, 37 probe kills game long, and 5 base against 3.
And you can't help but think this all begun with 3 hatcheries versus a gateway expand.
It does influence things a bit. And until Protoss come up with a good way to dealing with it, they're gonna continue being behind in the early game, and everything will be just a little bit more difficult.
Well, +3 attack is about to finish here from BabyKnight. Can he make a miracle comeback in this game? Because currently, it's not looking likely, as the Corruptors are gonna obviously target down that Colossus nice and fast. The Zerglings behind can do some damage. But actually, look at that, he does get pushed back here. Phoenix is getting a couple of free shots and a free kill on a Corruptor or two there. Corruption is spelt and put down onto these Phoenixes, and well, Mutalisks are going to start to target down these Stalkers. Not the best of fights there from VortiX.
Yeah, very nice micro there by BabyKnight, and he's got fantastic upgrades. 3 attack upgrades on his ground, and he's also getting Anion Pulse Crystals now. That was a pretty good engagement for BabyKnight, and suddenly the total units lost tab, 8,000 against 12,000.
Wow.
Is looking pretty efficient for BabyKnight.
All right, so where does BabyKnight go from this position? Does he just keep playing defensive for now to build up a proper army and then look for something later on?
I think he has to go extremely heavy on Phoenixes. What that's going to do is allow him to combat any number of Mutalisks and Corruptors, and he needs that before he can even dream of getting a 4th base. Getting a 4th base under these conditions without having the army to back it up, the mobile army I should say, is going to prove impossible. So his #1 priority should be attack upgrade on Phoenix, 3 Stargate Phoenix perhaps, or at least 2 constantly counter boosted, and trying to reduce damage from these Mutalisks, because soon he would need a 4th under normal circumstances, but he can't get it yet, not right now. So he needs the Phoenixes to get a 4th.
All right, well, Zerglings are going to break into this third base once again here. The amount of pros being killed in this game is absolutely disgusting. A cannon and 5 Zealots do get warped in to help out. With VortiX's amount of gas that he has incoming off 5 bases, are there any potential tech switches you could see here that would really threaten a Protoss player who's trying to focus on the Mutalisks at this point? Or does VortiX just stay and hammer on what he's got?
That one, I think. I think it'll be just numbers from here on out. Just Mutalisks, Corruptors, and Zerglings. Maybe even beyond the point that we feel it might work. And he hopes, of course, that it will continue to work.
BabyKnight's playing rather well when it comes to dealing with all this kind of speed play coming from VortiX. Units to the third, units to the main, Mutalisks all around the place. And BabyKnight has been doing rather well. He's playing under a lot of stress at the moment, being able to try to deal with such fast play from VortiX. And the supply count is 150. He's getting closer and closer. The higher he goes up, the better it does become for him. But still, more Mutalisks, more Zerglings being made. BabyKnight once again clears out his 3 bases. Tries to get a couple of Zealots out to harass here, but that's immediately stopped. He's got Zealots down south as well, I imagine.
Yeah, and look how BabyKnight is still adding a Colossus or 2. He's got 2, because Colossus with 3 attack upgrades instantly torch any number of Zerglings they touch. Doesn't matter if Zerglings have attack upgrade, armor upgrades or not. So, Phoenixes, are there enough yet to deal with these kind of Mutalisks? There's only 10 Phoenixes against 37 Mutalisks.
A lot of Mutalisks, and then Corruptors to help support them here. Corruption goes down onto these Phoenixes. The units are going to get pushed away here. A couple of Corruptors do also get picked off. Zealots did make their way to that bottom base.
Wow, interesting.
And if they were actually targeting down that hatchery at +3 attack, Robbie, they are going to go to it. Zerglings are on the way, though, so unfortunately I think that may have been a missed opportunity there. But as we can see, BabyKnight still heavily focused on dealing with these Mutalisks and Corruptors. +1 attack on its way. Templar Archives too. But
oh, that's a mistake, I think.
The Templar Archives?
Yeah. I mean, Archons are cute, but he doesn't have a lot of gas, and he doesn't have a lot enough Phoenixes yet. It's not the ground army that can't beat the Mutalisks. They have enough... Oh, wow! Hold your horses here. Wow, this is a great fight for BabyKnight, and VortiX didn't quite notice yet. Or did he, and is he happy with the status quo?
He's got a lot of units, hasn't he? Blinks back up to the high ground here, but Mutalisks in these numbers seem to be okay with anything. A lot more Stalkers do get whooped in. 2 Colossus exposed at the back. VortiX still at a massive supply advantage here, and BabyKnight's just getting warmth in. And remember, you pointed out a very interesting dynamic before. When does BabyKnight take a fourth, and how does he? Unfortunately, not going to in this game.
GG, VortiX 2-0.
Yeah. And he does get that revenge from Season 1.
It's a game won by VortiX in VortiX style. He brought some nice strategies to the table, nice openers. And BabyKnight's strategies didn't work, unfortunately, this time. VortiX moving on here.
VortiX does move on to the winners match here in Group B at the World Championship Series in Europe. Unfortunately for BabyKnight, not the best of starts here. And he will drop down to the losers match and will have to play against the loser of our next game, MC or Thorzane.
Yeah, and that's going to be the next game that we will be seeing, MC versus Thorzane. Of course, Thorzane won recently in 2011 in the TSL.
Yeah, recently. I mean, before we pass it over to Red Eye, though, any last thoughts and maybe a summary of that series from either side? What do you think about that then? What we just saw? It
was just a really high octane game by VortiX. He did a kind of stable opener in game 1 and held a normal all-in in a very normal fashion. In game 2, he just took a little bit more risk because he could. He was leading, and it gave him a big lead. I don't think there was any point where he was under any threat in any of the games. So it's hard to say that if BabyKnight had done 1 or 2 things a little bit better, that he would have won. VortiX won by a little bit more than a small margin. Yeah.
You think VortiX can ace this group today with a performance like that? You think he can go first place, maybe?
I think so. I think I mentally have him winning against MC or Thorzane, but it's up to the players to see if that's actually going to be the case or not.
All right, well, thank you for your thoughts once again,
You
Grubby.
too, Sean.
And I'm going to pass it over to Red Eye with a winner's interview.
Thanks very much, guys. Yes, with VortiX, congratulations. 2-0 win. People will look back at that and say, actually, it was quite straightforward. But you said to me just as you came over, he actually played really well, and that was a tricky game.
Yeah, especially like second game. It was very good by him, I think. It was kind of like, I think he didn't scout my spy early enough, but still he reacted very well, and he did anything kind of good except that very last engage where he blinked into my Mutalisks, which was really bad. That lost him the game, and yeah, I think he played good overall. First game it was kind of lost since I stopped his all-in, but yeah, he played well.
Second map was an interesting start for you. Talk us through that.
The start?
The build.
Yeah, well, I know that BabyKnight likes to open gate a lot, so I was just like, okay, if I open pull first in first game, then he won't expect me to do fast expansion on second game. And I kind of gambled a bit and say, okay, let's just go 3 hatch. It worked very fine, but normally it's a very risky build order.
Worked out okay for you this time round, though. Is that a little bit of revenge for season 1? Was that in the back of your mind?
Nah, I forgot about that long ago.
Okay. So I also wanted to talk about your brother a little bit, because we're used to seeing him in this round of 16, but we didn't see him this season. He's had a tough run through. I understand he's had a little bit of surgery recently. Is he doing okay?
Yeah, he's pretty okay now. I think he has been playing again for 2 or 3 days, and once he has enough practice, then best terror in Europe will be back.
Nice to hear. Fighting words from VortiX. Congratulations, through to the winners final. Got any preferences over who you play now, MC or Thorzane? Does it matter to you?
No, not really. 2-0 versus anyone.
Ah, fighting talk from the Spaniard. That's what I like to hear. Good stuff. VortiX through to our winners final. Let's go and break down that last match with Colaris.
Thanks very much, Paul. Nice to see the VortiX has quite a bit of confidence going into this group. But that series was, I want to say, a little bit one-sided there for VortiX. VortiX does very well when it comes against Protoss. Game number 2 really showed a lot of his versatility and his abilities to be able to, anticipate what his opponent's going to be doing. He was forced into a little bit of a quicker meter switch there, but I want to come back to game 1 a little bit, as obviously we do have VortiX eventually spotting out what he always spots. He always seems to get an Overlord in and see exactly what his opponent's up to. Now, the nice thing for VortiX in this matchup in general is that if this Overlord gets in, he sees a Twilight Council, that's great. He starts preparing for any eventualities that he would consider. In this case, knowing for quite a while that it was going to be some kind of blink assault. Of course, there were the Spore Crawlers there as well for DTs, but it's just a little compensation here and there. Doesn't really matter too much for him when he's on such a high drone count. Now, another nice thing for VortiX when going into this matchup is that, yes, he sees this and he's anticipating something very, very aggressive. But the way in which VortiX actually plays out this matchup is because he's building so many units here that even if this Overlord gets in and sees, oh, right, well, he's going for a macro focus, he's going to be going for a third base, then he can utilize a lot of the units he's currently producing, freeing up a lot of supply with Overlords as well, to then pressure his opponent's third base, which makes it just a kind of a middle-of-the-road build, but he already has the economy behind it to back it up. Now, as we go on a little bit further into this game, obviously getting the infestation pit. This is something that VortiX has relied on quite a lot, just in general. It works out very nicely for him in this case against what BabyKnight is doing, because obviously locking down Blinkstalkers with Fungals, it's gonna do really, really well, and he kind of knows exactly what timing is going to be hit, so he knows he has a lot of room to actually get this out. But again, this lends itself very nicely onto what he normally does, which is eventually those evolution chambers, eventually that melee focus to go over to Ultralisk, which was his plan all along in this game for a very, very long time. And as we go into these engagements with the Infestors just popping at the right time, this makes it considerably harder for BabyKnight. So there was a great blink there, admittedly, to actually focus down one of those Infestors. But other than that, it all kind of goes a bit downhill. Losing these sentries at the front didn't have much energy left, but it's very, very downhill. And BabyKnight, I feel that in this game in general, just kind of got the short end of the stick. Maybe coming in with a blink play in mind was not really the best thing to do against an opponent that does use a lot of Infestors and substantially a lot of Fungals. So that's going to do it for my look here at game number 1 in this series. And I'm going to hand it over to Paul and Mr. Redeye.
Thank you very much, Kalais. Breaking down the game of Game 1 of Group B. We'll be back very shortly with the second match in that group. It's going to be the King in the North versus the Boss Toss. That's coming next. Before we get there, quick reminder for you, keep interacting with us via social media. We do appreciate your tweets and your Facebook posts. Facebook.com/StarCraft, and of course on Twitter @StarCraft. And also include the hashtag #WCS. Now, last year, or last season, you'll remember that we gave away a collector's edition, and this is the point of the show which I've been the most nervous about. But good news for me, they've left the wrapping on, so this time it doesn't fall down. Look at that. Do you know what that is? That's top 3 collector's edition control right there. Anyway, we're going to give one of these away, all right? As he says, trying not to drop it off the table, that's going to be signed by the players that are playing today. All you've got to do to win this is put up your favourite meme. Now, you've got to design this. It can be anything WCS Europe related. It could be the draw from yesterday. It could be one of the players that you've seen play yesterday. It could be one of the players that's playing today, or even one that plays later on in the week. It could even be Kalaris or Grubby or, God forbid, me or Apollo. Anything you like that's WCS Europe related. Get your creative skills out, do a doodle or a picture, or grab a picture and do a meme, whatever you want, and post it on Twitter. Include the hashtag #WCS. We'll show a few of them a bit later in the program, and the winner will be picked out a little bit later on. Our favourite personal one will be picked out, and we'll send you a collector's edition of Heart of the Swarm, completely free of charge, and I promise it'll be signed by the players that have played today as well. I've already seen, actually, VortiX has put his name on there, so has Apollo as well. So nice prize for you to grab your hands on. Make sure you get your memes in on Twitter on #WCS. We're going to take a very quick break, and when we come back, it's game number 2 from Group B.